The message came just after midnight. We no longer trust you. 4 words. No greeting, no explanation. Just a sentence that sliced through the dark like a knife. I read it twice, expecting a follow-up, maybe a reason, a misunderstanding, but nothing came. My phone stayed still, the screen cold against my hand. After a long pause, I typed my reply. Understood. That single word said everything. I didn't ask why. I didn't defend myself. I'd spent years explaining, apologizing, bending to keep peace. This time, I chose silence over begging. The truth was, their message didn't shock me. It confirmed what I had felt for a long time. The trust they spoke of was never about honesty or love. It was about obedience. As long as I lived the life they imagined, they trusted me. The moment I made choices they didn't control, that trust vanished. I sat on my couch for a while, staring at the quiet apartment around me. Every corner of it had been built by my effort, not theirs. Still, part of me wished they'd call, to say they didn't mean it. But no call came. So I did what I hadn't done before. I let it be. I didn't write long explanations or try to fix anything. I just accepted it. Because maybe that's what they never understood. Trust works both ways. And they'd broken mine long before sending that text. By the time I turned off my phone, I wasn't angry, just clear. That night, I realized something. When someone cuts you off to control you, silence is the strongest answer. Tomorrow, they'd expect guilt. They'd expect regret. But what they'd get instead was peace. Morning light spilled into the room, but my phone stayed face down. No calls. No texts. For the first time in years, I didn't feel the urge to check. I made coffee, sat by the window, and thought about how everything between me and my parents had slowly led to that midnight message. They'd always seen me as the difficult one, the child who asked questions, the one who wanted to live differently. My sister followed their plan step by step. Same city, same family expectations, same kind of life. I chose independence. I worked late, started my own business, made mistakes, learned. But that freedom, to them, was rebellion. The tension started last year when I stopped sending money every month. Not because I couldn't, but because I realized it had become less about help and more about control. They'd question every purchase I made, judge every decision, and compare me to my sister. She knows how to take care of her family. So when I cut that cord, I guess they felt betrayed. And now, that text was their way of saying, "You're out of the circle." Around noon, my sister called. I didn't answer. She texted instead, "What did you do this time?" "Mom's been crying all morning." I stared at that message, half angry, half tired. It was always that way. I was the villain, they were the victims. No one ever asked what I went through, how it felt to be blamed for choosing my own life. Later that evening, a relative called to check on me. She spoke in that fake soft tone people use when they've already picked sides. "Maybe you should apologize, Beta. Parents are parents, after all." I smiled faintly and said, "Sometimes love isn't about obedience. It's about respect." And they've forgotten that. That night, I sat down and looked through old photos, family trips, birthdays, dinners filled with laughter. It hurt to realize how far we'd drifted. But beneath that ache, I felt something new, calm. The silence between us wasn't empty. It was speaking loudly. It was saying, "I'm no longer living by guilt." Then, out of nowhere, a knock echoed through my apartment door. Slow, deliberate. I froze, heart racing. Through the peephole, my father, standing there, holding something in his hand. After all these years of control, after all those harsh words, why was he here now? I opened the door. His eyes met mine, not with anger, but something else. "Can we talk?" he said quietly. And just like that, everything I thought I'd buried came rushing back. For a few seconds, we just stood there, me in the doorway, him holding his cap awkwardly, eyes heavy. My father wasn't the kind of man who apologized. He was the kind who barked orders, gave lectures, and called that love. Seeing him hesitate felt strange. I stepped aside and let him in. He glanced around my apartment like he was visiting a foreign country. Everything about it, its simplicity, its quiet, seemed to unsettle him. He finally spoke. Your mother wanted to come too. I told her I'd talk to you first. I nodded, waiting. He placed an envelope on the table. Your mother didn't mean that message. She was upset. We both were. We thought maybe we'd lost you. I looked at the envelope but didn't touch it. You didn't lose me, I said softly. You just stopped listening. That landed hard. He shifted uncomfortably, rubbed his hands together. We didn't understand why you pulled away. We thought you didn't care about family anymore. I did, I said, but I also needed to care about myself. Every time I said no, it turned into a fight. Every time I tried to live differently, it felt like I was betraying you. That's not family, that's control. He didn't respond right away. The silence hung thick between us. Then, in a voice that wasn't defensive but tired, he said, we were scared. You were changing so fast, and we didn't know where we fit anymore. That confession hit deeper than I expected. For years, I'd seen their actions as cold, but maybe behind that control was fear. Fear of becoming irrelevant, fear of losing the version of me they understood. He went on, slower this time. When your sister followed our plans, it was easy. We knew what to expect. But with you, everything was different. It felt like we were losing our place. I sat across from him. You didn't lose it. You just had to let it grow. He looked at me for a long time. Then, with a trembling sigh, he said something I never thought I'd hear. I'm sorry. 2 words. Not perfect, not complete, but real. He opened the envelope and pushed it toward me. Inside was a small note written in my mother's handwriting. It wasn't long. We love you, even when we don't understand you. Come home if you want to. The door is open. I didn't cry right away, but my throat tightened. Years of silence, tension, and distance collapsed into that single message. We talked for hours. Not perfectly. There were still things unsaid, still bruises from old arguments, but it was honest. He listened without interrupting. And for the first time, I saw him not as the authority I'd spent my life trying to please, but as a man who was simply trying to reconnect. When he left, he paused at the door. Your mother's cooking biryani tomorrow, he said with a half smile. Maybe you can stop by? I smiled back. Maybe I will. After he left, the apartment felt different. Not emptier, but lighter. I picked up my phone, opened the old chat with my parents, and typed just 2 words, coming home. No long explanations. No emotional speeches. Just peace. Because sometimes forgiveness isn't about saying everything's fine. It's about deciding to stop carrying the weight of what went wrong. And that night, as I turned off the lights, I realized something powerful. Trust, once broken, can be rebuilt. Not by pretending nothing happened, but by both sides finally choosing to listen. The message that once ended everything had become the start of something new.